In the shadows of history's darkest chapters, patterns emerge that demand our unflinching gaze. The Schutzstaffel, the SS, rose from a mere bodyguard unit in 1925 to the iron fist of Nazi terror, enforcing racial purity through dehumanization, expulsion, and extermination. Under Heinrich Himmler's command, the SS orchestrated the Holocaust, systematically labeling Jews as subhuman threats, herding them into ghettos, and engineering the murder of 6 million souls in camps like Auschwitz. This was not chaos. It was calculated ethnic cleansing, a blueprint for genocide dressed as national security. Fast forward to today. Modern Zionism, in its most militant form, mirrors these tactics in the occupied Palestinian territories. What began as a movement for Jewish self-determination in the late 19th century has, for many critics, devolved into a system of settler colonial dominance. Israeli forces, led by figures invoking Holocaust memory to justify violence, label Palestinians as inherent threats, human animals, as Defense Minister Yoav Gallant declared in October 2023, echoing the Nazis' own rhetoric of vermin and existential peril. Today, we dissect these parallels not to equate victims with perpetrators, but to expose how power corrupts, how propaganda perpetuates atrocity, and how leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu and Adolf Hitler wield words as weapons. This is Echoes of Tyranny, a 12-minute reckoning with history's unheeded warnings. Dehumanization is the first step in any machinery of death. The Nazis mastered it. From 1933, SS propaganda, spearheaded by Joseph Goebbels, plastered Germany with images of Jews as greedy conspirators, racial pollutants poisoning the Aryan bloodline. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jews of citizenship, labeling them as enemies within. Heinrich Himmler, SS chief, declared in a 1943 speech to his officers, "We have exterminated a bacterium out of humanity." This wasn't mere rhetoric. It justified ghettos in Warsaw and Łódź, where over 400,000 Jews were crammed into starvation and disease before deportation to death camps. Now, observe the echo in Palestine. Since the 1948 Nakba, the catastrophe that displaced 750,000 Palestinians through Zionist militias' campaigns of expulsion, Israeli policy has systematically othered an entire people. Scholar Raz Siegel, a Holocaust and genocide expert, argues that Israeli leaders weaponize Holocaust rhetoric to portray Palestinians as Nazis reborn, obscuring the asymmetry of a nuclear-armed state against a besieged population. Prime Minister Netanyahu himself, in a 2015 speech, falsely claimed Palestinian Grand Mufti Haj Amin al-Husseini inspired Hitler's final solution, a distortion condemned by historians as Holocaust inversion, flipping victims into villains. In Gaza, this labeling manifests brutally. During the 2023 to 2024 assault, Gallant's human animals slur preceded a siege, cutting off food, water, and fuel. Tactics evoking the Warsaw Ghetto's slow strangulation. Over 43,000 Palestinians dead, per UN estimates, with 1 in 3 children orphaned. Omer Bartov, another Holocaust scholar, warns of IDF soldiers' dehumanizing attitudes in Gaza, akin to Wehrmacht brutality in World War II. As Holocaust survivor Renee Lichtman stated in 2024, "Gaza is an open-air concentration camp. I see parallels to what we endured. These are not isolated slips. Zionist militias like the Irgun and Lehi, precursors to the IDF, used terror in the 1940s, bombing Arab markets, massacring villages at Deir Yassin in 1948, killing over 100 civilians to sow fear and flight. Albert Einstein and Hannah Arendt condemned these groups in a 1948 New York Times letter as terrorist, right-wing, chauvinist, akin to Nazi parties. Today, settler violence in the West Bank, over 1,200 attacks in 2024 alone, enjoys IDF complicity, labeling Palestinians as saboteurs to justify land grabs. The parallel? Both regimes brand an ethnic group as an existential virus, priming society for eradication under the guise of survival. Once labeled, extermination follows. The SS's Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing squads, fanned out after the 1941 invasion of the Soviet Union, gunning down 1.5 million Jews in pits like Babi Yar. Himmler's orders were clear. Judeo-Bolshevism must be eradicated. This escalated to industrialized death. Gas chambers at Treblinka, where 800,000 perished in 16 months. The SS's role? Total, from roundups to crematoria, all framed as racial hygiene. In Palestine, the pattern repeats, scaled to occupation's grind. The 1948 Plan Dalet, executed by Haganah and Irgun, cleared 500 villages through massacres and dynamiting homes, ethnic cleansing by design, displacing 80% of Palestinians in what scholars like Ilan Pappé call an incremental genocide. Fast forward. The IDF's operations in Gaza and the West Bank have killed over 100,000 since 1967, per B'Tselem data, with tactics like white phosphorus strikes and AI-targeted bombings evoking SS scorched earth policies. Genocide Watch's Gregory Stanton ranks Israel's actions at stage 8, extermination, citing the blockade as deliberate starvation. In 2024, IDF soldiers filmed themselves chanting "Death to Arabs" while bulldozing homes, a direct echo of SS Einsatzgruppen songs amid mass shootings. Holocaust survivor Hajo Meyer compared Gaza's siege to the Warsaw Ghetto. It's the same, a slow death. Critics like David Feldman argue these comparisons spotlight policy horrors without anti-Semitic intent. Yet, as the World Jewish Congress warns, they risk Holocaust inversion, minimizing Nazi uniqueness. The truth? Both are state-sponsored terror against civilians, rationalized as defense. Adolf Hitler, the failed artist turned Führer, whose 1925 Mein Kampf blueprint for Lebensraum, living space, demanded Slavic and Jewish expulsion. Rising chancellor in 1933, he fused charisma with catastrophe, using the Reichstag fire to crush dissent. Propaganda was his scalpel. Leni Riefenstahl's triumph of the will glorified the masses, while radio broadcasts hammered the Jewish peril. By 1938, Kristallnacht's pogroms, 91 Jews killed, 30,000 arrested, tested the waters Hitler outsourced to the SS but owned the vision. The final aim, the annihilation of the Jews. His common threads: victimhood narrative, Germany, stabbed in the back by Jews post-WWI, an unyielding control, purging rivals like Ernst Röhm in 1934's Night of the Long Knives. Hitler's legacy: a world scarred, 70 million dead in war, 6 million Jews erased. Yet his methods endure, a siren for demagogues. Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu, born 1949 in Tel Aviv to Ben-Zion, a fiery revisionist Zionist historian who idolized racial purity akin to Nazi ideologue Julius Streicher. Bibi's rise: a special forces vet turned PR whiz, he weaponized 9/11 fears in U.S. speeches, likening Palestinian resistance to Al-Qaeda. As PM since 2009, with breaks, his Likud party echoes Hitler's cult of personality, rallies chanting "Bibi, King of Israel." Propaganda? Masterful. Netanyahu's 2015 cartoon video of a bomb labeled Iran with a Palestinian sliver distorts threats, much like Hitler's big lie of Jewish Bolshevism. He distorts Holocaust history, blaming the Mufti for gas chambers, as Turkish President Erdogan quipped, "What difference from Hitler?" In 2023, amid ICC warrants for war crimes, he invoked Amalek, biblical genocide command, against Gaza, evoking Hitler's total war. Similarities to Hitler. Both thrive on fear. Bibi's Iran Nazi analogies mirror Hitler's Judeo-Bolshevik bogeymen. Both centralize power. Netanyahu's judicial overhaul gutted checks, like Hitler's Enabling Act, and both outsource violence, SS for Hitler, IDF, settlers for Bibi, while posing as saviors. As Avigdor Lieberman accused, exact methods of Goebbels. Netanyahu, not a Führer yet, but a warning. Democracy's slow erosion into ethno-state fervor.
Christian influencers, okay? You said, we talked about the woke right, and you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. This is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. But our influencers, I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance, to that community. They're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. And you have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media.
Parallels are not predestiny, but ignored echoes invite repetition. The SS's shadow looms in Gaza's ruins. Hitler's lies in Netanyahu's speeches. Holocaust survivors like Stephen Kapos urge, call out these similarities to prevent another horror. As Yeshayahu Leibowitz warned in 1968, occupation breeds Judeo-Nazis. We must demand justice, end the siege, prosecute war crimes, dismantle apartheid history's lesson. Silence is complicity. Never again means never again for anyone.